we're going to pass the hat for those of you who still might want to make a contribution to this event. And I have this roving microphone, so if you have a question, let me bring the microphone to you so that we get it onto the video. And please keep your questions to questions. Please don't try to make a big statement. Thank you.
Actually, what?
Oh,
can you hear me?
Him next.
He's next.
I think he is, and then you can go next, however you want to do it. Sorry.
Just, do you have any thoughts on kombucha? And you said something about kefir, but do you have any thoughts about kombucha?
You know, yeah, I have thoughts on kombucha. I like it, and it is fermented. So it's definitely better than some things and maybe worse than others. You see what I mean? It's always that way. It's all very, it's a mobile system, and you have to experiment on yourself. You're a beaker, you know, you're a test tube now, and see how you are. And you can always get the pH paper to measure your urine in the morning to see where you are on the spectrum. If you need it, yeah.
I wanted to make a statement. I moved from one apartment to another, and I was told it was green. It turns out a lot of us are having trouble because of the Wi-Fi, the computer room, and everything. And it's not green. They just tell you what kind of detergent you use. And then somebody that we know in this county who was on the board of the city council, she lived there, had to move out because she had the same symptoms I do, the back of our head and the electrical feeling. And she got sick and had to move out. And there's a man living where I live, whose heart pacer, it's affecting his heart pacer, and yet they call this place green, and it's affecting our health terribly. I have diabetes, and my blood sugars have just soared terribly, and I'm trying to look for another place. I'm on Section 8. If anybody knows of a cottage or something where I've written about this kind of thing for the Connection magazine years ago as a layperson. It was published about, electromagnetic and all that. But what I wanted to say, my rent is like $25. If anybody knows, it's like $1,700 they get every month from the government. But with my diabetes, it's just off the chart since I've lived there, and I can't sleep. And another lady there has been ill too. So it's.
Where is this that we're talking about?
Well, I don't know if I'm at liberty to say, but. Okay, I will. I'll tell you. It's supposed to be affordable housing, and it's senior bay apartments in Capitola. They look nice from the outside, but where I live turned out to be elevators. I didn't get to see it before I moved in, and it's elevators, hallways, electric panels, computer room, Wi-Fi above, Wi-Fi below, and there are people that ill there that don't know why, but 3 of us do.
Okay.
Smart meters, right?
They just put 5G. This man moved in that has a handsome guy, but he's got a heart pacer. He moved in there, and then afterwards they put 5G smart meter on his wall. And he's suffering, and we can't do anything about it. We can't even get out of there. I tried sleeping in my vehicle. My blood sugars got worse, just because I'm on insulin.
Okay, thank you.
So if anybody knows of a cottage, they could make a lot of money from me on Section 8.
Hello.
Hello.
Were you on Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis?
Yes, I was.
Have you heard him talk about hammer and smack related to HAARP?
No.
Okay. Never mind then. It's supposed to be one of the replacements to the HAARP, but if you haven't heard of it.
Yeah, I haven't.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
Yeah, you mentioned fiber optic and its ability to actually be worse than Wi-Fi in terms of controlling or inputting problematic frequencies into ourselves. Is fiber, I'm confused, is fiber optic like what Comcast used when you have a cable coming into your, or is it different?
Into the home?
at home.
Yeah, and they usually put it under, no?
Not in Santa Cruz, they bring in coaxial cable.
Oh, they would do coaxial.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
is that cleaner?
Yeah, normally fiber optic, they're laying fiber optic when they dig up the road, and they're laying it in there, or a sidewalk to the house.
And is that what broadband is supposed to be, fiber optic rather than coaxial, right?
That I don't know.
Oh, so it could be coaxial. It doesn't have to be the worst. Okay.
But really high broadband needs to be fiber optic. And they are laying fiber optic. Verizon's laying a lot of fiber optic in Santa Cruz, and also Cruz IO is laying fiber optic.
Yeah.
Hi, this is just FYI for microscopes. There's an outfit called American Science and Surplus, which often has microscopes on their pages with USB ports. So you can actually plug in and save the photograph to a SD card or that. And there are various powers. And
It's called what?
American Science and Surplus. So you can have to
And they're
Google
cheap,
it.
they're pretty cheap.
They range, so there's some are Russian surplus and whatever they happen to have on hand to that particular issue. So that's a place to look for. You can save the photos.
Great.
American Science and Surplus.
For getting a microscope that has a USB port.
Hello. So I want to say thank you overall. You had mentioned that there weren't any foods or anything you could do to get rid of the nanotechnology, but yet you're going over this food.
Diet. It's food, but it's really a whole diet that I'm really talking about, and how you approach food as an acid-alkaline builder.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just
I know.
saying that my information says is there are things you can ingest to get rid of the nanotechnology, and there's life processes.
Say it again.
There are things that you can ingest and life processes you can do every day that help get rid of that nanotechnology. It still makes you a certain kind of signal, because they're going to read you anyway.
What do you have in mind? What do you have in mind?
I'm not going to mention it in this room.
Oh.
I'm very interested in what you said about remote bioenergizing, because just yesterday I heard on National Public Radio an interview with a World Health official who was puzzling over the odd, he called them outbursts, of the coronavirus in various parts of the world, and they're trying to figure out how this can be. They've seen outbursts in Iran, they've seen outbursts in Turkey, and that was the big puzzle that he mentioned in this interview. Why would this be happening? And I think you just explained it.
How did I explain it?
You talked about being able to replicate germs with the signature and actually electronically activate that signature.
Yes, that's right.
And that's what I'm thinking may be happening with this coronavirus.
Yeah, well, I definitely am voting for that. I've studied, I waited several weeks, went over all the different theories. I saw some very interesting ones, like, an assault to break the economic hold that China had.
Yeah.
I saw, but the main thing was the 5G activation in Wuhan, and the 4 other cities approximately like Wuhan, and all of them were in lockdown after the outbreak in Wuhan, and I felt that it was a 5G test on one level, because Wuhan didn't just put up 5G minimal, it was super 5G. And I really felt that this was what I said about the molecular biology being no more and digital biology taking its place. If they were to transmit the frequency of this, what is the name of it? It's besides coronavirus, it's the novel coronavirus.
COVID-19.
And now it's 19. Then it was then that would that would explain to me, to my satisfaction, why people were just dropping like flies. I mean, that means an activation in those bodies. And did they know how many would be activated by the frequency? How many nanobots? Whose nanobots would be activated by the frequency? I don't think they knew, and I think they wanted to find out. So to me, it probably is, it may not be viral in the sense of people picking it up by breathing it, but it's being, and how would it be? Wow, how about satellite? I mean, you know, what a great test for the satellites up there. But I can't confirm any of this. This is my favorite theory right now. And I'm watching, as far as the other places, Turkey and Iran, how interesting it would be, those two places. You could even have a CIA agent delivering something there that was on a viral level and would look different from the digital signature that was used in the other case. I mean, it could be also digital, could be, but that was a mass population thing, and now this seems to be just to make it look worldwide. Now, could they then do it to us here? Well, yeah, if they have the viral signature and they also have the 5G completely set up. I think this is one of the jobs for 5G, 6G, 7G, you name it. It's going to be the delivery of digital biology. I think that's exactly right. But that's only one of the jobs, but it's a pretty important one, right? So that's why we need to come to terms with our consciousness and the nanos, and that's what I want to talk about now. Now notice, I haven't forgotten you over there. Here I have the recommended sites. You can take a picture of that or whatever. This is what I recommend, and this includes Morgellons, nanotech, geoengineering, and various sites that I think are excellent down at the bottom. Okay, can I talk about that now? I want to talk about consciousness. What did you want?
It occurred to me when you were talking about the digital biology, is that frequency sets up a template for it to be created virtually.
Well, it does, and but what they would need, I think, is the nanobots. A nanobot is nothing more than a nano-sized robot. So it has a computer in it.
It has an ability to produce other effects that are tailored to that frequency.
It will self-replicate according to the frequency being broadcast into it. Absolutely, because it's all a network. That's the important part. Their replication produces a network. Am I saying I have the network in me? I assume I do. You know, I mean, we've had parasites for thousands of years. We've had all kinds of little guys living in us. This is different, because this is a programming type of technology that is being controlled from outside of us. This is quite different. But let's think about it. The nanos move in a swarm. Now, someone asked me to comment on the fires. Yes, when I looked at the Santa Rosa fire and the drone footage of the grid, that where one house was burned, another wasn't, the tree was fine, blah, blah, blah. You know, I noticed, this was a long time ago, after the first Santa Rosa fires, I noticed that in the drone footage, it's very good footage, that the embers on the ground were moving. And I was like, wow, those embers it looks like they're, well, I guess it could be wind moving them, but what wind makes them go like this? And I had talked to Jamie Lee that day, a Plain Truth whatever, and Jamie had said that there was simply no wind. There was no wind. So I'm like, okay, there's no wind, but, well, you know, and I'd play it back and play it back and play it back and look and look and look. And finally I was like, oh my God, those are nanos. And they're spreading the fire. And they are being remotely sent on their missions for burning this and that. And Catherine Austin Fitts had already said, the investment analyst had already said that certainly mortgage fraud was one of the objectives of the fires in California. And so that was another reason to choose this house and not that house and all that. Mortgage fraud. Well, I think she just means, what is mortgage fraud? Somebody
Well,
who...
they're making it so that you can't have fire insurance now.
I know that. That's not what I'm talking about. It's like you lose your home and someone's going to get rich, right? They're going to buy your house for a song, and maybe even however much you still owe on your mortgage. I don't know, but mortgage fraud definitely is something that, if it's America, it's making money off of disaster, period. No discussion. Disaster capitalism is the name of the game in this country, and surveillance capitalism, as Shoshana, whatever her name is, just said. Okay, so, all right, let's go back to the consciousness. So the nanobots are swarming, and they only function as a swarm. They don't move individually. They are made of atoms, and they're down at the atomic level in their structuring. And they are because they're tiny, as I said, they are very close to the quantum dimensions that we don't know much about. But CERN is very interested in, and other particle accelerators are very interested in. So these nanos that are swarming, what kind of consciousness do they have? Okay, they're just made of atoms. They don't have any living organ. They're living machines because they're made of atoms, and they have a consciousness when they operate together. And consciousness is also how we gauge something is alive in some way. So they're in my body. And they could be swarming, but the 5G has not been activated in my area yet. I have not been activated. Most people who have, this is my pet theory, most of the people who have Morgellons outbreaks have been activated remotely. And I used to think it was their immune system is not as strong as mine. I had all kinds of theories as I was examining Morgellons. Why don't I know I have Morgellons in me because I've seen under Clifford's microscope the Morgellons sucking the iron out of my erythrocytes, my red blood cells. I know I have them. That's what geared me into action when I saw that. I know all of us have it because we're all breathing the same air. And the main delivery system is the chemtrails. The second delivery system is GMOs, and the third delivery system is vaccinations. So I don't have, what's Morgellons? Morgellons is it's a disease, it's a condition that is generated, and Morgellons itself is a type of nanobot. And it is usually in a fiber, and the fibers, you can see them, they're very short, and you can see them with the little microscope or a big one, but inside that fiber, which is made of polymers, plastics, sort of, inside are all sorts of organs, you might say, of particles, of various things that make it a delivery system of a self-replicating nano system. And they form the grid as well as these evil smart dust. Morgellons often will reveal itself and it'll look like a skin disease. It's like you get a staph wound. It looks sort of like a staph, looks like a crater. And then out of the middle of it, these wires will stick. They'll stick up. There's usually 3 colors, and 3 colors only. This is a genetically engineered condition, and people are in a lot of pain, and people have all sorts of things going on in them when they've been activated. But I'm convinced now it's activated remotely. So what happens to us when these nanos that are in us are activated under a 5G or 6G system? Well, this is what I'm looking at, is is it possible for us to develop our consciousness in such strength, in such absolute authority over inferior, genetically engineered structure, living machines? They are definitely inferior to us. Their operators are evil. I'm already feeling quite superior to them. But the question is, can we direct, you have to have no fear. Fear produces acidity. You have to absolutely know that your human authority is absolute over these entities. And I think we need to start experimenting with our consciousness to be able to command these things. It's like in that New Testament thing where Jesus says something like, "Get behind me, Satan," kind of thing. So to me, that's the route I know I'm going to try out. When and if, and I'm pretty sure it's a when. It's set in motion in me. So I invite you to consider that we have yet to use our consciousness in a very authority way, in do this and do it now kind of way, because we are spiritual beings with great authority. And I'm really tired of living like a mouse, and I resent that these megalomaniacs are doing this to us. But it is a fact. I'm absolutely convinced. And it's like Dietrich said, this is going on, and it's coming from the chemical trails. So let's get serious about our consciousness. And for me, I'm serious about my diet. I'm serious about my consciousness. Then Tony has all kinds of good ideas that I'm trying one by one. I take 2 baths a week with baking soda, Epsom salts, sea salt, and borax in the bath, in order to push the nanos out of my body. Did you get that? It's a baking. You want to make an electrolytic alkaline bath. That's what you're making. And so you're going to soak in it. As far as quantity, I'm constantly experimenting with the quantity. Right now I'm doing 2/3 of a cup of each of those. Okay, so baking soda, Epsom salts, sea salt, and boron or borax. Borax is in the laundry detergent aisle. It is a laundry detergent helper, but it is actually 95% boron. And what it does is it opens the pores. See, we have a biofilm on our bodies. You may not even notice it, but I do, because my skin is shiny. I don't normally have shiny skin. And that's boron. That's the biofilm. The boron opens that up and opens the pores so my body can breathe again. It's a respiratory organ, your skin. So to see the nanos, the bath can work if you have a good flashlight and you turn the lights out in the bathroom, and you've taken, you take baths regularly, you will eventually see a swarm on the top of the water. You'll see them moving. If you're getting lots of juicy ones out. And so another one.
Like regular tap water?
Yeah, I mean, if you have chlorine in your water or fluoride, I take less of a long bath. But so I take a 20-minute bath because I have chlorine and not fluoride. We don't have fluoride, but I have chlorine. But if you have really good water, you could stay in 40 minutes, 50 minutes, and keep getting it hot. So another one is the foot bath. That's the ionizing foot bath. You can buy the ones they make for $125 or something dollars. Tony also has instructions of how to make the foot bath on his sites. And you'll see his sites are up here. Those are the ones at the bottom on the left from augmentinforce.com. Those are all Tony. And the last one is Brian396, who is his best buddy. And Brian has good ideas too. I don't know him as well. The ionizing foot bath, the baths, and the final one I wanted to mention is Tony has been experimenting with creating a magnetic field and driving them out. And he does that with a triangle that he makes. He also gives you the instructions of how to make that. That has very heavy, what are they called? Niobium magnets? Niobium or? That's it. Yeah, the really strong magnets. He has those on the triangle, and then he covers it with duct tape, then he covers it with plastic, and then you get it in the bath with you. And say your knee hurts or your hip hurts, they love it when you have joint problems. They'll go right there. They're all over that. So you put the magnetic field over wherever they are or wherever you feel they are or over your organs, because you need to protect your organs from these guys. Then you'll drive them out. Again, you can use the flashlight and you'll see on the top of the water, they come out in droves with the magnetic field. So those are the three of the ideas. Tony's always cooking stuff up.
How do you find out about the triangle thing?
It's at one of his sites. I'm not sure which one. I would assume augmentinforce.com. Facebook will not let me post Tony's sites. That's a pretty good sign, huh? Okay, so, yeah.
Is a lot of this information on a website that you?
On Tony's sites. Oh, yeah, and you can email him. He'll give you his email. He's answering probably 1,000 emails a week.
A lot of this information that you put out, I'm not fast enough for the writer.
No, I know. It's a process, but with Tony, you go to his sites. Just remember Pantalaresco. Have you got that name down? Pantalaresco, yeah.
My question is, okay, so now you've got these things floating around on the top of the bath water. Is there any way, I understand it's not possible to kill them perhaps, but is there any way to trap them, to get them out of the whole life cycle?
Shh, guys. Is there any way to get them out of their life cycle?
Rather than letting them go down the drain and continue on to end up, being eaten by fish.
That's about as far as we've gotten. I'm not saying they can't be killed or eliminated, but we have been unable to discover anything yet. Something I think about is Royal Rife and his electromagnetic machine. I think of magnetic fields. I'm convinced that it's along the lines of magnetic that we're going to be able to dominate them. But because they're built with atoms and they have this replication thing going as far as, see, that's the part that makes them a living machine, is they self-replicate, right? They're conscious and they self-replicate. So we've just begun to really look at this, and we.
Nice if we could go back and trace to the creators and get rid of them.
Well, Eric Drexler is the creator, and he's already sorry enough. Do you have the microphone? Okay, you've got it. Okay, go ahead.
In the same line of thinking that you were covering before about the coronavirus, it was just yesterday that I read this article, and I could go back. There was a radio show in Santa Cruz called Ask the Source that was back in the 90s, and it was actually a local clairvoyant or channel who would channel, famous movie stars and things like that. Well, she channeled E.T. at one point. She was on the radio, and I ended up filming many shows down in Carmel for her. And there was this one entity that came through all the time was called Ashtar. And there's actually Ashtar Command, and I found this yesterday, and he was talking about the coronavirus and how it's being transmitted. And he said that on his side, the light forces, he called themselves the light forces, and on Earth we have a dark force that is pretty much controlling what we're all talking about with the nanorobots and the New World Order, and to reduce the world population to 500 million. But anyway, this is something that I don't know if anybody's really seen the Ashtar or read anything from his.
But how do I know that this Ashtar is not coming from Langley, Virginia? I am very unfriendly toward ET theories because I'm dealing on a human level. And I'm going to stay on the human level because the ET thing, there's no way I can prove that. And I really feel that Langley, Virginia is behind a whole lot of channeling. I don't do channeling, so I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Well, it's
but-
from the late 90s that I started hearing, no, late 80s, and they
Yeah.
actually gave a formula.
They're very creative, those guys.
The cowboy hat over there has had her hand up the longest time, please.
Good. I just wanted to know, I've been doing a lot of research on fasting and praying, and it's supposed to, wake up everything inside of you and be able to break off all this kind of stuff. And I don't know about your stuff, but break off a lot of impurities in your body and stuff. So what do you have to say about that? And then open your eyes and open your ears to be more sensitive and to just have a lot more power and control like you were talking about.
Yeah, I think that if that regenerates you and helps you with fear and anxiety and all those things that we have lots of reasons we can be in fear and anxiety now, that's for sure. If it helps you, it's fine, but it's not the consciousness I'm talking about. It's not the authority I'm talking about. It's so hard for me to explain it to you, right? Because I'm talking about taking authority over them. I actually am starting reading groups of my book, Under an Ionized Sky, because it's not an easy book to read. And people are falling asleep. They're not remembering what they read. They're having a lot of trouble with reading. And I have a consciousness experiment going on there with LA Skywatch in LA. So I was with them the other night in their reading group, and we were talking about what it is, what consciousness means when you're reading something really hard that has concepts in it that are like, wow, what did she just say? And how that can strengthen our minds so that we can read again. We've had over half a century of television that has really destroyed us because we're in the alpha wave frequency. We can't do the beta wave, much less the gamma wave gamma wave of conceptual thinking from those places that these evil scientists are grabbing their concepts in the quantum realms. I mean, I really want access to that same realm, but you have to have a very strong mind to do that. Now, yeah, I have a good mind, but, I live to keep my mind really firm and solid and good and awake. And, it wasn't genetics that gave me this. Rudolf Steiner helped me, and also my practices. I don't meditate, and I do pray. I pray all day long, actually.
Right.
I have a long conversation going with God, Christ, the Lord. I have my angel. I have all these beings. I don't know quite where they are, but I know that I'm getting help. Right? So I do that all day long. It's not a special activity. This is how I do my life. But it's not Langley, Virginia. Yes, that I'm sure of. So if we can understand that, when you read something, are you in those words? Are you in it? You're struggling with it. Yes, I know, but you drive that will factor, the will into, and get that thinking back, so you can have this strength of authority over these nanobots. That's how I'm thinking.
So are you saying just throw away our TVs too?
Oh, yeah, you should. You should have thrown it away years ago. I've never even owned one. Never even owned one. And I don't own a cell phone either. Why should I own a military weapon? I don't need it. No, I have a computer. That's bad enough, right? But it helps me write books. Okay, yeah.
I wanted to ask you about working with the various hertz in music, like the 528 for the heart, and the 963 for God, and 732. Do you think that helps?
I
with
think
the
they
whole-
do help. In fact, I test them on, a lot of targeted individuals are in touch with me now, and I send them those to see if they can tell me these are accurate and on the effects on them. So yes, I do, but I think we have to be careful of them from the internet because there can be a lot that have subliminals in them.
I wondered about
Subliminals
that.
are in everything now, movies, television shows, yeah, and
Ads,
you know, all the people who are having thoughts that aren't really theirs, and terrible, icky thoughts that, where'd that come from? You know, that's not me, and that sort of thing. You can be pulsed by AI systems that are running cell phone operations in certain areas. Your cell phone can be used to pulse you, so can the Internet of Things and the 60 hertz in the wall. So, you know, you live in an electromagnetic world, and let's start really taking responsibility for it. This is not the world of yesterday. And we've got some bad apples who are in charge of this, and they have transhumanist ideas for us. So, you know, I'm inviting people to become a new kind of activist, where you're really on it, you're sharp, you're holding yourself, you're a warrior, you're letting go things that weaken you, you're taking up things that strengthen you, you're developing your will in your thinking, you're putting that will into thinking. This is where Rudolf Steiner helped me immensely. So, you know, I was always bright, but I was sort of lost in my thinking, my concepts and things. Now I've got my will in the right place, and I can kind of vector in there. And that's what I would want for you. I would want that same thing for you.
Where is the good source to get unadulterated, those correct hertzes to listen to?
That I don't know. Do you know, do you know where to get good sources for those hertz, those particular hertz you were talking about?
Studying them, and I've been studying them, and in our spirit guide, we meet on the phone a few times a week. We do a lot of the 528. The 528 before meditation. I have a real Tibetan bowl in copper from the leader of this group who sent it to me.
Oh, a Tibetan ball?
Yeah, it's a 732, and it just is, wow.
So you mean when you hit it, it makes the 732?
Yeah.
Oh, the bowl.
Yeah, and you just,
Okay.
just let it go,
great.
and it just
that sounds
vibrates
great.
out. And then the 9, you know, there's different, you study the different hertzes, and some of them are immune in the 400s, are very good for your immune system.
Absolutely, yeah.
With these frequencies that you would recommend, where I got my bowl, is there a good website where we can find out about these frequencies?
And I'm doing it off of, you know, I don't have TV, but I do YouTube. And I'm learning about a lot of them through YouTube.
Yeah, there are a lot of YouTubes on frequencies.
Yeah, and just tune them in. Why don't you start with the 528 hertz and listen to it, and then read about it. You can
Right,
go on the internet.
they're generally called, because there's lots of frequencies for everything out there.
You can say, like people used to say, oh, I really feel it in my heart.
Yeah, you do.
Frequencies on YouTube can lead you in any direction. Frequencies are a general term. Is there anything specific in terms of researching these particularly good frequencies?
Well, let me talk to you about it after.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'll come bring that microphone to you. I just wanted to say about those nanobots, I'm guessing they have some metal inside of it, and one natural thing that gets rid of metal from the body is just the herb cilantro.
What is it?
Yeah.
Cilantro? You know what's in salsa? Cilantro.
Yeah, but the nanobots don't have metal in them. They're made of atoms. And I would say, but they're in close proximity to the conductive metals that we're breathing in. Those are their battery, in a way, the conductive metals. But anyway, yeah, there definitely is metal involved, and cilantro is good for that. But the authority over the nanobots is still needed, I think.
I just wanted to say something real quick. You know how we want more affordable housing everywhere? Affordable is, like I live in affordable housing and you can't opt out of the smart meters. And so that's one disadvantage of all these big, humongous apartment complexes. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, you're right.
There are private people doing the Section 8 that have.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, that's what I would do then.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. I'll be brief, brilliant, and gone. 2006, I got my certificate of automotive, and my automotive instructor told me about nanobots. So I was aware of it then, and he showed me a little diagram that it was just the atoms put together, and they're like a little mechanism, like a gear, right? Like just kind of thing that turns
Like
the wheel.
a gear, right,
Yeah.
right.
So totally get that, and was aware of it in 2006. And then about the consciousness thing and these evil people, one thing that I've learned through my YouTube experience is that after World War II, the Nazi scientists helped us form the CIA, and like the OSS, they formed that. We have our CIA, so they have ties to the evil kind of ideologies and the propaganda and our media that controls us and lies to us on a regular basis, which has stemmed probably from the whole banking structure and the New World Order and all that stuff to control us because we're their cattle, we're their sheep. They want us docile and dumb. They don't want us to rise up. And just the question that I don't want answered, and you can all think about as well, is why are they spending all this time, energy, and money, chemtrails, fluoride, GMOs, nanobots, and all that, to prevent us from something that we don't even know we're capable of? That's the conscious authority that we are not claiming. There is something higher that it takes a lot for them to spend all this chemtrails on us. It's a lot. It's a global plan. It's orchestrated massively to a brilliant degree where even most people don't even think it's happening.
Yep.
So think about that's all I wanted to say.
Yep.
No need to answer.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
I just wanted to ask you, in all of your research, have you found any place on the planet that has less of this? We were recently in Hawaii. There was actually blue skies in Hawaii. There's actually water, rain, and so forth. And I actually never saw a chemtrail that I'm aware of there. So,
offshore.
Yeah. So, well, what's your thought? Is this like a global epidemic everywhere on the planet?
Well,
they spray upwind and
then it
drifts
blows
down over the islands.
Yeah.
I mean, it is global, but there are small nations that do not have their own program, and certainly the NATO countries are required to have the chemical trails. And it's important to know that the chemical trails are also about communications. So when you see it over an area, or you don't see it over an area, communications may be part of it. They also use it in communications. I also include a big weather event. Like before Fukushima happened, we had 3 days of chemtrails over Fukushima in preparation for the hit by the HAARP instrument. So there's reasons. The cloud, the Navy has stored information in clouds over the Pacific. And with Hawaii, I don't know why, I don't know what island you were on, but I would wonder if the other islands were.
We're on the big island of Hawaii.
Yeah, so it moves around. I graduated UH, so I know Hawaii. But there's many reasons why you'll see clouds or not see clouds. And again, I showed you that patent. They can do it now where you don't see anything. And I would wonder how blue the sky really is, but, yeah, oh, well, that's not hard. Yeah, right.
Santa's just about taking over one of the islands. Maui, right. So you've got all the,
yeah.
So can I just say something?
Yes.
So I just wanted to say, I haven't seen a day without chemtrails in Santa Cruz for I want to say 3 weeks now. So that's kind of disturbing. And the other day we had a windstorm, And I haven't heard anyone else say this, but I was in my house, and then all of a sudden I looked to the, out the window, and I literally saw the wind. I saw it. It was I was like, I've never seen the wind before, and it was like, and it was almost like interdimensional, and then it went away, and then there was another, what do you call that, gust.
So doesn't that sound like nanobots to you?
Yeah, I was like, is this an engineered wind, or is there just so much stuff in the,
it's got to be engineered, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, and during this tonight, at one point, I don't do the, I went to sleep. I actually wanted to go to sleep, because I started to I felt like either a numb out or I'm going to freak out, and I was overwhelmed. And I couldn't concentrate anymore. And then, I feel awake again, but, and I'm really thank you for talking about consciousness and authority, because I was starting to feel like a, big victim for a moment there.
Right.
Like, okay, fuck, like what am I going to do? I mean, like, I'm filled with stuff, and, that's radioing.
That can be pulsed. I'm serious. I mean.
Oh, that I slept?
The pulsing, oh yeah. I mean, I don't pay attention anymore to symptoms in people around me, whether they like me or, they fall asleep or they're angry about something I said. Because I don't know where it's coming from. It's the old Langley, Virginia problem. Like, where is that? Is that yours, or is that coming to you from the Internet of Things, the 60 hertz in the wall? I mean, you have no idea how many...
So not taking things personally to a new level.
That's right.
Right.
I don't take it personally.
Yeah.
We're all in a struggle. We're all in it.
Just nanobotted.
With the aluminum,
Yeah, you gotta laugh. I mean,
like
it's like...
sheeting and things like that, you don't, with the fabrics that contain aluminum.
Silver eco-foil, is that the one you're talking
Silver, I think you mean.
Is it silver and then
Silver impregnated. There's silver impregnated materials, as you know about, and then there's also this radiant barrier called SCIF, Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility, that you can buy very cheap, $154 for 500 square feet. It's sandwiched aluminum foil, polyester thing in the middle. It blocks 10 gigahertz.
So for EMF?
Yeah, like the government uses it for its data facilities to keep it from being hacked. So that's on Ecofoil, and other companies sell it. It's made in Canada. Ecofoil sells it. SCIF, S-C-I-F.
Being in a metal, like a mobile home, an old mobile home, that's an improvement? I mean, is that...
Yes.
Or...
No, not really. No.
So Gail gave me some, and I have, that AT&T, I just have internet service. The AT&T box, and with my coronet, boy, that was in the radiation level, from AT&T. And I put her ecofoil around it. It was all the way down.
Yeah.
So it does.
It really works.
I've tried other fabrics and things.
Yeah.
Her foil works.
Is that ECO foil?
Yeah, EcoFoil, and it comes out of Canada.
That's the company. Oh,
Yeah.
that's the company in here.
The product is SCIF. Yeah. Yeah. And it's very thin, like foil, and you can put it on a lot of things. Yeah, okay.
I'll speak loud. Do you know anything about how colloidal silver, the use of colloidal silver would be okay or problematic?
Well, I know Tony Pantalaresco does not approve of it. I know that because silver itself, for ingestion, now on the outside that's different, but for ingestion, silver is well, it accumulates. It's kind of like what Tony said about gold and the liver. It accumulates, and my guess would be, yeah, it's probably the liver that would, because the liver's job is to go through whatever comes in as looking like a drug or looking like an intense amount of something, and then it gets too congested or whatever. I mean, that's my guess. I don't use I use whole foods as a medicine. I don't do any pills. I don't do any additives or, things that people send me things, and I usually am giving them away because I don't really know what that is. And I do understand the yin-yang thing with whole foods. So I use food as a medicine. I could be wrong. Maybe I need a lot of this, that, and the other, and I'm not getting it. But it's too complicated for me, for one. My head is already complicated enough. Once you see my books, you'll see what I mean. So more complication is not what I'm looking for. But I put silver iodide. Somebody sent me some tooth powder that they made for me, and she said to put silver iodide with it to make it wet, for when you're going to brush your teeth. So I do that. And my teeth feel great after I do it, but I'm not ingesting it. I'm spitting it out after I brush. That's all I know.
Create like a homeopathic remedy, because you have.
What, I'm using it as a homeopathic, or?
No, I'm saying like maybe there could be some sort of. Oh, it just occurred to me that maybe there could be, when homeopathy works, like you take the small amount of the problem, the disease,
the essence, yeah.
The essence, and then you actually take it.
Yeah, I think a lot of homeopathy.
They would get attracted to it and leave.
Yeah. I think it's a very powerful treatment. Again, it's too complicated for me to study. I'll just do the food thing. Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe. No, it's a good idea.
Okay, we're approaching 10:30, so we've been here 3 hours. So if we could maybe have maybe another 3 questions, or comments.
Thank you very much. Did you say that 5G was activated right before the coronavirus thing happened in Wuhan?
Yes, if you read about it, there's plenty of articles. I think John Rappaport is the most recent one who talked about it, but several people have talked about it. It was not right before, it was a few weeks before, and I didn't even add the real shocking element, which is that the U.S. military was over there having some sort of exercise.
And I've also been told that there was some biogenetic lab very near.
There are 2 labs in Wuhan.
Yeah.
2
Thank
labs.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, we're all in this together. As you can see, I'm totally excited about this era. I couldn't have asked for a better war, and I'm happy to be here. And we're all going to die someday anyway, and we have a chance now to do some true experimentation and some true study and some true thinking and intuition and all kinds of things. I think it's fantastic. So I'm not afraid. We go forward.
Thank you.